you a womb twin survivor? This article sets out some of the many ways in which womb twin survivors can identify themselves.
I am hypersensitive, both physically and psychologically.
Womb twin survivors are often extremely sensitive to their environment, especially certain chemicals, foods, or stimulant drugs, such as caffeine. They have acute hearing and general awareness and are easily distressed by too much activity, stress, or stimulation going on around them. It seems as if their characteristic preference for privacy arises out of a need to recover from overstimulation. Womb twin survivors tend to be psychologically sensitive. They are acutely aware of other people and very sensitive to their moods, particularly where this involves sadness or hurt. They react strongly to the atmosphere generated within a group of people. They use their acute sensitivity to others to cool down a tense situation. They appear to be difficult because they are oversensitive, overanxious, and even neurotic. Hilary tells me that she is extremely sensitive to people, to the point that it startles her sometimes. She does love crowds and people, but can get overwhelmed and soon has to back off. She is much bolder now and more confident, but still recognizes her fragility as a person.
I am highly intuitive and very empathic.
An outworking of this characteristic hypersensitivity is strong intuition and empathy. One cannot exist without the other. Intuition is the ability to constantly scan other people in such minute detail that an enormous quantity of data is being gathered every second. As a result of this stream of available data, womb twin survivors can make an instant assessment of whether anyone is to be trusted or if they are in any personal difficulty. Empathy, on the other hand, is the desire to reach out to another person and make some kind of connection with them by entering into and sharing their psychic space. Empathy is a complex skill, consisting largely of the desire to make a continual series of intuitive guesses about the other person's experience of being themselves. As the relationship deepens, the empathy is informed by more and more data, gathered by means of intuitive awareness. Womb twin survivors have an uncanny ability to read a room or person, which can be unnerving for those present. In a group, they are acutely aware of the subtleties of any power games being played out. They can often predict trouble before it starts and make a preemptive move to avoid it. Like so much in the life of a womb twin survivor, highly developed empathy is both a blessing and a curse. Womb twin survivors get tangled up in other people's lives because of their ability to pick up on the feelings of another person. They slip easily into codependent relationships. They can end up as unwitting vehicles for the unexpressed, unacknowledged feelings of other people, unless they stay alert to their own propensity to take other people's feelings upon themselves. Without a considerable degree of self-knowledge, they are easily scapegoated and become very vulnerable to the abuses of power. We believe that twins in the womb communicate by intuition and empathy, and womb twin survivors get a crash course in building intimate relationships over many weeks or even months before they are born. This consists of continual intuitive guesswork because there is no language or even full awareness, and delicate negotiation of the shared, cramped womb space. The longer the twins are together in the womb, the deeper the empathic union becomes, and the greater the loss for the survivor if it all ends in tragedy.
I think a lot about death and dying.
Womb twin survivors are very concerned with death. This is not at all surprising if we consider that their first formative experience was being in a very intense, intimate relationship with someone else in the womb who died. In later life, womb twin survivors will inevitably be confronted with death and loss once more. At that point, the hidden memory of loss is triggered. The most traumatic bereavement for a womb twin survivor is the death of a person with whom they have had a very close bond and an intimate relationship. Faced with too many deaths at once, some of them find it hard to cope without some emotional support. They grieve deeply and often for a very long time. Bereavement counseling is of great value to womb twin survivors. In the private intimacy of the counseling relationship, they are able to grieve intensely. It may not be death that does it. Divorce, disability, and redundancy are all losses that can trigger deep distress, despair, and depression.
I am a very emotional person.
Womb twin survivors can be rather histrionic in the way they express their feelings. They can go over the top with emotions. They may weep excessively at a film that leaves others just a bit tearful. They may get terribly hurt by a small slight or be easily provoked into anger. As babies, they may cry a lot about nothing. As toddlers, they may be afraid of being left alone, especially in the dark. As children, they may suddenly become withdrawn and feel a dark mood of despair, or fear of death coming upon them for no particular reason. They may be described as moody. As teenagers, they may hide away, weeping for hours for some invented reason, or really not knowing why. As adults, they may be plunged into a black dog depression that comes and goes with no apparent cause. The whole demeanor of womb twin survivors changes with their moods, which can oscillate wildly between despair and joy over a short period of time.
I am always very busy.
Womb twin survivors feel driven by some inner force to live life to the full and overflowing. They do not always recognize this as survivor guilt. However, they are very aware of the fleeting nature of time and the shortness of life. They often have 2 or more jobs or have several part-time occupations at once. They always have some new idea or project in mind. They are bursting with new ideas that demand creative expression. They become exhausted, not only by living their busy lives, but by the added demands they put on themselves. The worst thing in the world is to let anyone down. They may start new projects with great gusto, but quickly run out of steam. They often do not carry things through. They are great initiators, as long as someone else can come and take over at a later date and bring the whole thing to fruition.
I love two-ness.
Womb twin survivors love to be one of a pair. As children, they may show a preoccupation with twins or frequently point out 2 things the same. They may seek out opposite extremes to complete their lives. They may prefer to work with someone who is the opposite of themselves, or be deeply attracted to someone born on the same day. They seem to have a split personality and may joke about it. The two-ness they need is expressed inwardly in the way they live and behave. For example, they may be very different at home and among their family from how they are at work. This may be confusing for them. They seem to have 2 very contrasting sides to their personality and cannot be sure which is me and which is not me. It is characteristic of a womb twin survivor to complain, "I don't know who I am."
I have a strong imaginary inner life.
In their frantic rush through life, womb twin survivors can still find it remarkably easy, if necessary, to sit still and be quiet, drawing on a little-used part of themselves to do this. They can be patient people with a strong capacity for endurance and survival in difficult conditions. They may talk about a strong inner life that enables them to endure pain, long periods of forced inactivity, or solitude.
I have some kind of problem with food and eating.
Almost invariably, womb twin survivors have a problem with food. This is such a strong association that we are tempted to believe that all people with a food problem are womb twin survivors. Problems with food include sensitivity to various food ingredients, eating disorders, and obesity. Some womb twin survivors gain a lot of weight by eating for 2, and change shape entirely as a result, and then struggle to lose it again and become another person. This may be repeated several times over a lifetime. We believe that there is a very special, coded message in weight gain and loss that goes far back to the time before birth.
I feel different from other people.
It doesn't take womb twin survivors many years to realize that they see the world differently from other people. Other people may notice this too, and many womb twin survivors are seen as strange, the odd one out, or even weird. If they want to fit in, they may pretend to be the same as everyone else, but they do often wonder why other people do not see the world the way they do. For example, Laura was always considered peculiar, strange, different, unique, or unusual. She was regarded as having a colorful existence. Her strangeness attracted people to her, but they seemed to be in awe of the way she was. That held them always at a distance, so she was isolated in her strangeness.
I have been told I have a personality disorder.
Just because womb twin survivors think differently, that doesn't make them crazy. Some womb twin survivors have been diagnosed with a variety of psychiatric disorders, such as obsessive-compulsive disorder or clinical depression. These labels suggest some kind of sickness or mental instability. We believe that when the concept of womb twin survivors is introduced into the diagnosis, then things become more rational and clear. Jo resisted the idea that she may be a womb twin survivor for a long time. She has seen a doctor about her anxiety and insomnia, a spiritual director about the sense of meaninglessness in her life, and a healer about the despair and emotional pain that has tortured her every day. When she was told there may be a simple and logical reason for how she has always felt, she wept with relief. The idea of a personality disorder is quite a neat way to categorize the way so many womb twin survivors feel. But we believe they are not crazy. The way they think is a perfectly rational and logical response to a strange and relatively unusual pre-birth experience.
I find it hard to let go.
Letting go is a major womb twin survivor concern. Some womb twin survivors have certain beloved possessions that they could not live without. As parents, womb twin survivors find it hard to let go of their need to feel close to their own children. They seem to suffer more from any lack of emotional contact with them than the average parent might. They can survive, if necessary, on minimal emotional contact with loved ones, but a complete absence of contact causes extreme emotional pain. This is just too much of a reminder of the loved one who was lost forever.
I know I am not fulfilling my potential.
Womb twin survivors are trying to be two people at once, and maybe three. And it's impossible to do this without compromising one's life somehow. If you feel you are wasting your life, you could be right. Perhaps you are deliberately sabotaging any chance that you will ever make anything of your life. Sadly, there are many millions of people who, despite the passing of the years, remain immature and never seem to learn. There may be a sensible and logical reason for this bizarre behavior. They are womb twin survivors.
I know that my deepest needs are not being met.
Since 1954, we have been told that humans have a hierarchy of basic needs that must be met if we are to live a balanced and happy life. Womb twin survivors may deliberately choose not to meet their physical needs. They may starve themselves, not drink enough, or rob themselves of sleep. Then there are safety needs such as a secure home or job. Womb twin survivors may choose to upset their parents, landlords, or employers, so they get thrown out of their home or fired. Thirdly, there are social needs, such as a sense of belonging to a group, and the giving and receiving of love. Womb twin survivors may choose not to engage in close relationships. They will give love, but have a problem receiving it. Fourth, there is a need for self-respect and recognition by others. Womb twin survivors lower their own self-esteem with self-hate and choose to hide away from the world. Lastly, there is a need to attain one's full potential as a human being. Womb twin survivors take steps to sabotage their lives, so this will never happen. Sally has moments of deep despair and a great sense of aloneness. Since a very small child, she has buried herself in painting. She is not sure whether she does this as an escape or just because she loves to paint. This self-isolation rules her life. She does not feel at all normal. When she looks at all the happy human beings in the world around her, she knows they do appear to lead far more balanced lives than she does.
I know I avoid getting close to other people.
Womb twin survivors crave closeness and intimacy, but they never allow themselves to have it. For instance, Debbie's twin sister was stillborn, strangled by the cord. Debbie remained an only child and desperately wanted siblings. As a young girl, she used to talk to her twin sister at night in bed, in her head. She says that there is no lasting psychological pain, just a deep sadness and an overriding sense of loneliness. She is now married with children of her own, but she has always been a loner and treasures her time alone. When she is denied it for too long, she craves some private space. Womb twin survivors like Debbie lack trust and tend to withdraw. After all, if your first ever relationship in the womb ended in abandonment, then you would avoid intimacy too.
I feel as if I'm a suffering survivor.
Womb twin survivors live a life of deeply felt distress that they cannot understand. They may express their sense of being different by means of antisocial or eccentric behavior. Their strange behavior makes sure that they are not liked and have no friends. To be the sole survivor is to be alone. In early adolescence, womb twin survivors develop an abnormal obsession with the shortness of life, their own death, and the sensation of dying. They tend to be suicidal, not because they are sick, but because their womb twin died and they naturally want to be dead too. Their pain and distress is not always evident, for they may find ways to anesthetize or conceal it. They may manage to fool themselves and others that they are really enjoying life to the fullest. They probably have to work very hard at being happy, for life itself is a real burden. Their little lost womb twin, perhaps even more than one, is now gone, leaving a lonely and wounded, suffering survivor to go on living alone.